Okay, the show after Battleground, which was a good show. I want to make it clear, I heard about the reviews and people took it very well. The rating for the show was pretty good, actually. Very good, in fact, to many people. So, only problem I had was that I felt the show was a bit too short. Most matches felt like they could have gone longer. But other than that, it was pretty good. No problem. And when you look at this episode of NXT, it's actually better than Raw again. Thank you, HBK. You gave us a show that was understandable. It was booked pretty solidly. It had a good beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't perfect. Making it clear, there's very few shows that are perfect, particularly with NXT. But at least I can say it was at least booked correctly. They had a decent beginning, decent middle, and a decent end. Let's begin with Gigi. The weaponized steel cage match with Gigi Dolan and JC James. Now, I'm going to be honest here. It felt a bit weak. It did feel like this was the first time these two have ever done a steel cage before. Either one of them. And it kind of shows. They were not 100% going all tilt in this match. It felt like they were holding back a bit because they weren't totally sure how to do a steel cage match, particularly with weapons in it. They worked together for years. They know each other. But to actually know each other in a steel cage with weapons was something a bit new for them. And you could tell the way they were handling it, it was a bit tame. There's no lie about it. It wasn't a bad match. Let's make it clear. It wasn't. It was not a bad match. But you can tell that it was a bit tame. Now, in the beginning, Gigi is heading to the ring, and JC just decided to beat the crap out of her before she gets in the ring. And they get into the ring. But honestly, it just, once they got into the ring and started working with the utensils, it was a bit restrained. I don't think they were going all tilt. Neither one of them was 100% rubbing each other into the steel cage, either the boobs or the faces. They didn't really hammer each other very hardly in the steel cage. They didn't throw each other around like most people would in the steel cage if they've been familiar with it to make it look really as believable as possible, not to really badly hurt each other. This is hurting one another. This is making it look like you're hurting each other. And this was them. They were slightly below. This is where they were like here. This is where they were. It wasn't a bad match, but it was obvious it was a restrained match. I think they really didn't know how to really deal with each other that well in this environment. It's just obvious. In the end, Gigi Dolan, JC James were on the top turn rope and the top turnbuckle. They already had a table set out. People were cheering and screaming for tables. They got the table. It was set up. And instead of JC and Gigi falling into the table and maybe doing a powerbomb, which I think if JC James had been powerbombed into the table, I think it would have made it more effective than just letting her get whacked into the chain link fence and then hit her in the face and then she falls back and then she gets pinned. It felt a bit lame. It did. But like I said, I don't believe these two were very familiar with how they were going to deal with this type of match. I think this is the first time that they've both been in a steel cage match and with weapons. If it was just a steel cage match by itself, it would have been a much more easier situation for both of them. I think it would have been way more easier. They wouldn't have had such a hard time trying to figure out how violent they wanted to be, how they were going to hurt each other more, how hard should they go. Yes, JC James and Gigi did use the aluminum garbage cans a lot. They didn't use the lids much. They didn't really use kendo sticks. They used steel chairs, yes, but it's still like it felt like tame. I'm just saying. Let's move on. Next match, you have Tyler Bates and Wesley dealing with Dyad. Now, supposedly, both of them worked out their differences because Dyad approached a Wesley who was getting interviewed, saying that was the most craziest thing he's done. He is happy, and did he feel like he was accomplished as a North American champion? Not as the longest running. He said, yeah. My back hurts. Yeah, that's what he said, pretty much. his back was sore, but he was happy. But Diag comes up because Joe Gacy did not, they were pissed off that Joe didn't win. But Tyler came up and said, you want to start something with me. I'm always by his side. And when it was done and they walked away, he said, why are you here? He said, look, what happened was the spirit of competition. I'm still your boy. I still got your back. And that's when that match started, which was a good match. We had, let me give it to you like this. Once you saw, I'm surprised. One of the two free agents that showed up on NXT, a Mustafa Ali, good to see, he's a free agent. That's when things began to get quite interesting because when they did their beginning of their matches, eventually Mustafa comes out. I know it's Mustafa. I like Mustafa. Leave me alone. But he comes out from the crowd without them seeing him. They cheer for him. He comes on the commentary. He said he's come to NXT. He's thinking about gold. That means he's going after eventually Wes. But it's good to see it. It's good to see that Ali is there. And now they're doing like they did last year. Bringing in wrestlers that were from Raw or SmackDown to go in NXT. There's nothing wrong with it. In the end, you know who won. But then Joe Gacy decided to go and screw with them. And also, Ivan Nile also managed to nail Ella Rain. I keep messing up Alva Rain's name. I don't know what it is. I think it's due to the fact I haven't seen her wrestle yet. And yes, they are going to be wrestling next week. She's wrestling against Nile next week. But at that point, I'm thinking she got her ass kicked a bit. She really, really, really needs. Was she kicked? Yeah. And there you go. We get the setup for a Rain to mess with Ivy Nile. And we get now Ali coming in to deal with Tyler or A. Wesley. I'm kind of happy about that and I'm interested in seeing it. Let's move on. Joe Coffey versus Stacks. Now, it's already obvious that Tony D'Angelo is arrested. They showed him. He's arrested. There you go. But Stacks is pissed off at Gallus because he knows they ratted him out. He approached him before, tried to beat him up, but got his ass kicked. So now Joe and him had the match. And let's make this clear. There was no way in green hell that Coffey was going to lose. Now, I didn't see Joe losing here. I didn't. But let's make this clear. This is about holding down the fort until Tony's out and they can have their feud with Gallus. I do believe that the family, I know it's the D'Angelo family, I'm calling it the family. The family is eventually going to go after those titles. It's happening. The question is going to be, will they finally pull the trigger on Tony and Stacks? That's going to be the big question. I'm just saying. Now, let's talk about what happened in the back. We got a moment with Reggie and Axiom. Axiom pretty much being thanked for what he did by releasing Reggie from being Scripps. Due to the fact, Kento. I keep messing up his name. I'd rather call him Kameda Zed. But Kento pretty much trying to beat the crap out of both of them. Well, one of them, and then he helps him out. The question is going to be where they're going to go with this. At Dalba is Dalba? D-A-B-B-A out. Dalba. I mispronounced his name. Anyway, are they going to do something with him? Having him feud with both of them, it looks like it might happen. At least with either Axiom or Reggie. I don't know which one. Maybe both. Maybe he'll have a match with both and destroy them both to try and get more credibility and move up the card. Maybe. But I don't like to see Axiom used in this way. I'd rather see him being used in another way, but this is what we got. Next, we got Thea, who's going to be dealing with Drew Gulak and Dempsey, because she wants to show that she can be a tough girl because of what's been going on, that she hasn't been able to get anywhere. What? I'm not sure how to feel about this. I mean, Chase U is dealing with Dempsey and Gulad. Yeah. She wanted to show that she's tough. Yeah. But who's going to be with Drew and who's going to be with Dempsey? It's got to be a female. Who are they going to use? Don't know. It's going to have to be someone new that's coming up that's going to replace Zoe Stark as a badass. That's the only way it's going to make any sense. And let me give it to you like this. When we see Danny Palmer get her ass nailed by... I haven't seen her in so long. I've forgotten about Blair Davenport. I did. I thought it might have been, and I thought, yeah, but I still had to bring it up about Mandy Rose. Maybe that might have been Mandy because her shape was similar to her almost. But being Blair Davenport, it makes sense. She's been gone for a while. No one's seen her. And she's that kind of a crazy woman that we could see. I've only seen her briefly. Just before she left was a few times I saw her. So I only remember very little of what she is. But seeing it's her kind of makes some sense. But the question is how far they're going to go with her. That's going to be a big question. I don't know. But at least she was brought in strong. She got Soruka out. And suppose Soruka's out for the next year. She probably tore maybe an ACL or something. I don't know what injury she has. She's out for the next year. So they wrote her off TV, which was fine. That's kind of like what happened with Lakita Lyons. She got hurt. They beat her up and let her be gone for the next couple of months so she can heal as well. There's no problem with that. So using a person's actual injury to help them be written off TV, that's good. It's good to see that HBK's done that, unlike Raw, SmackDown. They don't always do it correctly. At least he's done it here, at least correctly. Not great, but at least alright. We get Ivy Nile versus Core Jade. Now, this was just to set up Core Jade, but also kind of help Ivy Nile when it's going to be with Alva Rain. And let me give it to you like this. You look at Core Jade, who feels more polished as a character. Then you look at Ivy Nile, who feels more generally polished as a wrestler. Going up against each other, you can see the stark difference in the styles of how they wrestle and the attitude as they're wrestling. If you don't know the difference, you need to look. Because Core Jade seems way more polished in how she acts in the ring. Is her ring work great? No, it's okay. Then you look at Ivy Nile, who's more of an MMA girl. And when you see how she works in the ring, she works like a wrestler / MMA wrestler. But she doesn't show any type of personality much in the damn ring. She just works. And that's a problem she's always had. She just doesn't have any character. She's a beautiful woman. She looks like she can knock your teeth down your throat. Flat out. There ain't no lie about that, but it's what you get. In the end, Core Jade won due to the fact of Alva Rain interfering. Now, we will have that match. It's fine. That's what we get. Von Wagner going to therapy? Oh, no. Oh, no. Are we going there? Are we going to be doing the same doctor that dealt with Kane and Daniel Bryan? Are we calling back that doctor again so we can get Von Wagner therapy because of the guy he faced last week that he almost killed? And Mr. Stone said, you got disqualified. You may want to get suspended. You want to get out. He said, no, this is Von Wagner. He says, for the last couple of weeks, this guy is screwed with both of us. He got what he needed. And clearly, Mr. Stone says, look, don't take this the wrong way. But let's make this clear. You got issues from your past, of your childhood. You need therapy. And Vaughn goes, well, am I going to waste my money on that, please? He says, no, I'll pay for it, but you need to go. You need it. And he says, I'll think about it. No! I forgot the name of the doctor they used for Bailey. I believe it was Bailey and Sasha. I believe at one point they were having problems. And when it came to Kane and Brian, now they're going to call him, I don't remember the name of the doctor. You guys can leave it below. And I'll say, oh, now I remember. I don't remember him. But why do I have a feeling they're about to call him back to deal with a Von Wagner that's going to be a more kind and gentler Von Wagner? I don't know. This is what we're getting. I know I'm glazing over a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to go over everything, but let's talk about the last segment before the last match. And that is I'm not doing the Tiffany Stratton's celebration. I'm not calling it that name. She called what she called it. That's her. More power to you, girl. You can call it whatever you want, baby. I am not calling your celebration that. That is stupid. I don't know who came up with it. It just didn't roll off the tongue. Maybe she done Statusfaction, like going off of Trish Stratus, how she would do the Status Celebration or something like that. But her first name, no, garbage. Sorry, I don't like it. For me personally, you guys can love it. Me, I don't. But I'm going to tell you this. Taking away, she did a promo. She called out the roster and said there's going to be a battle royal for the next person that will get a shot at her title, which is kind of a cop-out. If they're going to make this important, I wouldn't mind them doing another tournament for her, because that would be like being show-off, that she can come out and talk all she wants and be a show-off. But then taking away from the beat-up that she got kicked out of the ring, because it was Thea who first attacked her, and everyone else afterwards, she got in a big huff of it, and she was mad that they messed her over. I can understand why they didn't go with the tournament. Because when you look at Tiffany Stratton, if Mandy Rose had not been fired, guys, Tiffany would not be in this spot. She's not ready for it, because when you hear how she talks on the mic, it is not the tone of her voice that makes her not sound good. It was the way she delivered that tone of voice. There's a difference. As a character, Tiffany is a Valley Girl. We know this. But there's a way of being a really obnoxious Valley Girl and a bland Valley Girl. And that's where she is right now. She's still very new when it comes to mic work. She's not great on the mic. She's very bland. There's a way of being a Valley Girl to be incredibly annoying, which will piss your ass off, which is what you want. You want a Valley Girl to just, oh, please, you know I'm going to do this. I can do whatever I want. And then, oh, please, you know, this is what I want. There's a difference. You heard the tone. One where it's just uppity and just up in your face and want to make you annoyed that you want to rip your ears off. And then there was her delivery of it. And pretty much it just felt flat. That shows that, yes, she's good in the ring. She looks sexy as hell. She knows how to use her sexuality, which is part of wrestling. If no one, whether a man or a woman wants to admit this, one of the things that sell is sexuality, no matter if you're a man or a woman. One of the reasons why guys oil themselves up is to accentuate what they got, to piss off the guys that want to get the muscles, and to make the women horny for them because they want them to have them. For women, it's the same thing. Sexuality is a part of wrestling. If you can't understand what wrestling is, you need to reevaluate yourself. That is a part of pro wrestling. It's pantomime. It's theater, as they would say. Where do you think you get wrestling from? It came from time of vaudeville, time of when they were doing carnivals, and when the carnies used to travel around. That is part of the mystique of what makes pro wrestling. And she's got it. She's got the look. She's got the ring work. She has the charisma to be a sexy piece of ass that can kick ass and piss your ass off because you want to look as sexy as her if you're a woman, and you want to screw the living pooch out of her as a man and a woman. And a man in the other one, counting if you're that type of man who wants to become a woman. Yeah, I had to say it. I got to say it. It's part of what things are going on. But her delivery sucks. It is very bland. And that is something she needs to work on. Hopefully she will. I'm moving on to the final part of the show, and that was... Okay, guys, I am doing this without my camera on due to the fact that I got so damn pissed off. My battery died on my mic again. So, I am now doing this without the camera on. But you should still be able to get what you need. Look, let's make this clear. The last match, Carmelo Hayes and Nolan Dar was a good match. The setup for it wasn't bad either. Seeing that Carmelo Hayes came out to say how great he was, and his hype man, of course, is there. And in this situation, I will say that Trick Williams being out there when Lash Legends, Omi, I believe that's his name, and Marsha, as well as Jackson being out there made sense. He needed some backup, even though he didn't talk as much. It worked. And seeing Nolan Dar trying to goad him into a title match, saying pretty much, I had my match and I beat, guess what? I beat Dragon Lee twice. You could barely beat a Braun Breaker. But it made a great amount of sense. They wanted to set up a new match for Carmelo to have and a new feud. But the feud is what I didn't expect it to be. Because just like when it came to Mustafa Ali, and I'm saying Mustafa again, we get Baron Corbin coming out at the end after Trick Williams was ejected, after Dragon Lee and Frazier came in to help out a little bit of Carmelo Hayes, who was getting cheated. I'm shocked. And I'm also actually pretty happy. We now have two free agents, basically, in an Ali as well as a Baron Corbin. Having Baron Corbin in that position actually is a very good one, because when it comes down to it, Carmelo Hayes needs someone to start bouncing off of when it comes to doing his mic work. His ring work is fine, but now he needs to have his mic work done. And you could say a lot about a Baron Corbin. He's not one of the greatest guys. He's like middle of the road. Sometimes he'd be great. Sometimes he's all right. Sometimes he can be below average. But at least he's pretty much dead even enough that anybody he can work with, he's just across the line okay. And maybe he'll get a reboot in his character. Maybe he will go back to the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin, because he's gone through Lone Wolf, he's gone through Constable, he went through the King Corbin, he went through Bum-Ass Corbin, he went through Happy Corbin, he went through the God Corbin. Maybe rebooting back to Lone Wolf would actually happen, and hopefully it would happen, because I would like to see it happen. But that's just me. And I hope you enjoyed this, even though you're not looking at my beautiful face. Peace.